Imagine waking up to strangers splashing in your pool uninvited, acting like they own the place. That's exactly what happened to one homeowner when their nightmare. Neighbor Karen turned their backyard into her personal swim school. But what happens next? A genius revenge so cold, literally a tearing. Stick around to see how one person took on a corrupt HOA, shut down an entitled trespasser, and won back their peace, with a twist no one saw coming. Asterisk the story. Kicks off with a jarring wake-up call for the narrator. The sound of splashing water echoing from their backyard. Expecting maybe their own kids messing around, they're instead hit with a bizarre sight and familiar voices. Raucous laughter and a crowd of strangers invading their private pool. This isn't a family splash session. It's a full-on trespassing. Party led by none other than Karen, the narrator's insufferable neighbor. Karen, decked out in a pricey swimsuit and barking orders like a drill sergeant, has turned the pool into her personal domain, running a swim class for a dozen kids who don't belong there. The narrator's initial confusion quickly morphs into fury as they realize Karen's audacity knows no bounds. She's not just using the pool. She's claiming it as her own, oblivious to the fact that it's private property. Peering out the window, the narrator spots Karen directing the chaos with a whistle around her neck, acting as if she's doing the neighborhood a favor. The kids splash and kick water everywhere while a few parents lounge in the narrator's chairs, treating the yard like a public park. When confronted, Karen brushes off the narrator's outrage with a smug, "It's a neighborhood pool," as if that justifies her takeover. The narrator's blood boils. This isn't a shared space. It's their backyard, paid for with their money, maintained with their effort. Karen's entitlement is staggering, fueled by months of petty HOA complaints and condescending jabs that have already frayed the narrator's patience. This pool stunt, though, is a new low, pushing the conflict into uncharted territory. Take, for example, a real-life parallel. A guy named Tom from a small suburb in Ohio. One summer, he found his meticulously tended vegetable garden raided by a neighbor, Sue, who decided it was community property, since it was visible from the street. She'd stroll in, pick his tomatoes, and even hand them out to friends, claiming it was for the greater good. Tom's attempts to reason with her were met with eye rolls and excuses, much like Karen's dismissive attitude here. Sue-like. Karen thrived on entitlement, assuming her wants trumped ownership. The narrator's story mirrors this absurdity, but with higher stakes. A pool isn't just a patch of dirt. It's a major investment. Karen's invasion isn't a one-off. It's a calculated power play, setting the stage for an epic showdown. The lesson here? Entitlement doesn't just annoy, it erodes boundaries. When someone like Karen assumes they can take what's yours, they're not just crossing a line, they're redrawing it, knowing that first splash was never an option. It demanded a response, because letting it slide only emboldens the Karens of the world to take more. Asterisk, the tension ramps up as the narrator confronts Karen, only to hit a wall of defiance thicker than the pool's concrete edge. Storming outside, they demand an explanation, voice sharp with disbelief. What the hell is going on here? Karen barely flinches, turning with a lazy smirk and a dramatic sigh, as if the narrator is the intruder. "I'm holding my swim class," she says, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. When the narrator points out the absurdity, this is their pool. On their property, Karen doubles down, scoffing. It's a neighborhood pool. Her delusion is matched only by her confidence. Backed by a flimsy HOA document, she waves like a golden ticket. It's unrelated nonsense about community spaces, but she wields it like a weapon, daring the narrator to challenge her. The standoff intensifies as Karen brushes off every objection. The narrator's threat to call the police earns a smirk and a chilling warning. "Go ahead. I have connections with the HOA board. They'll just call it a misunderstanding." She's not wrong to gloat. The narrator knows the HOA's corrupt streak, having seen it favor her before. Karen's smugness peaks when the narrator records the scene, hoping to catch her admitting the trespass. She stumbles, but recovers, dismissing it as ridiculous, while parents shift uncomfortably, sensing the tide turning. Yet even as some leave, Karen vows to return, claiming HOA fines will force the narrator to comply. It's a power trip. Pure and simple, she's betting on intimidation to win. Consider a similar escalation from a story in Texas. A homeowner. Lisa faced off with her neighbor Mike. Over a shared fence, he kept painting neon green despite her protests. When she threatened legal action, Mike produced a forged letter from their HOA claiming it approved his artistic expression. He'd greased palms on the board, ensuring they'd back him up. Lisa's calls to the cops were shrugged off as a civil matter, leaving her fuming but stuck much like the narrator's bind here. Mike's arrogance grew with each victory, mirroring Karen's reliance on her HOA shield. Back in the pool saga, the narrator's hands are tied by Karen's leverage. The police might not help, and the HOA's bias is clear. Yet her overconfidence is a crack in her armor. She assumes the narrator will fold. The lesson: power doesn't always come from rules, it comes from who bends them. Karen's escalation isn't just bold, it's a gamble that the narrator won't push back harder, but that's where she miscalculates. When you back someone into a corner with nowhere to turn, you don't break them, ignite them. Narrator's next move isn't surrender, it's a counterstrike, proving that even a rigged game can be flipped. Asterisk fed up with Karen's unrelenting trespassing. The narrator hatches a plan as brilliant as it is petty. They fill their pool with ice. After a night of plotting, they call a local ice distributor, shelling out cash for truckloads of blocks dumped straight into the water. By evening, the pool's a frigid wasteland, blue waves replaced by a floating Arctic nightmare. A drastic move, but effective. The next morning, Karen struts in, whistle ready, kids in tow, expecting business as usual. The first child leaps in, expecting warm water, only to shriek as the icy chill hits. Another follows, flailing back out, and chaos erupts. Karen, furious, dips a toe in, yelps, and nearly slips. Her composure shattering as parents scramble to calm their shivering kids. The genius of the ice isn't just the show kits, the exposure. Parents, once complicit, start whispering. One mom snaps, "You told us this was a community pool." Karen's lies unravel as a dad points out, "This guy just froze. His own pool, this isn't community property." Her smug facade cracks. She stammers about it being a prank, but the damage is done. The narrator, watching from the porch, shrugs innocently. "It's my pool, I can do what I want." Parents grab their stuff and leave, abandoning Karen's business on the spot. She storms off, vowing revenge, but the victory's already. The narrator's the ice didn't just stop her, it turned her allies against her. Picture a guy named Jake from California pulling a similar stunt. His neighbor Dan kept hosting loud parties in Jake's driveway, claiming it was shared space, since it bordered his lot. Jake tried reasoning, then complaining, but Dan laughed it off. So, one night, Jake parked a beat-up junk car across the driveway, blocking Dan's party setup. The next bash, guests tripped over it, swore, and left Dan's cool guy rep tanked. Like the narrator's ice, Jake's car wasn't just a barrier. It was a statement that flipped the script. The narrator's retaliation works because it's bold, yet simple Karen's entitlement thrives on access. So deny it creatively, and she's powerless. The security footage captures every scream, every stumble, ready to go viral and seal her. Fate. The lesson. Sometimes fighting fire with fire means getting cold, really cold. Direct confrontation failed, but a clever twist hit Karen where it hurt. Her pride and her profits. It's not about matching her aggression. It's about outsmarting it. When pushed too far, the best revenge isn't loud, it's calculated, leaving your opponent frozen in their tracks, wondering how they lost so fast. Point 4. HOA corruption revealed. With Karen's icy defeat still fresh, the narrator digs deeper, sensing her boldness stems from more than just entitlement. It's systemic. They start with the HOA, a shadowy group they'd mostly ignored until now. At the office, the president, a smug balding man, brushes off. Their concerns with the patronizing, the pool benefits the neighborhood. It's nonsense private property isn't up for grabs, but he doubles down, claiming Karen's swim classes are a valuable service. The narrator's jaw tightens. This isn't about fairness, it's about control. Poring over HOA records that reveal a pattern, fines waived for Karen. Landscaping perks under beautification, and a denied pool request from her past. It clicks she couldn't build her own, so she hijacked theirs, with the HOA's blessing. The corruption runs deep. The narrator installs cameras, posts no trespassing signs, and sends Karen a cis andis letter, which she laughs off, tearing down the signs on video. That footage becomes gold. They upload it online, alongside the ice incident, and it spreads like wildfire. Neighbors, long silent, start talking. Margaret, an older resident, smirks. You're not the only one she's screwed over. The video's comments explode people, cheer the narrator's guts, suggest wilder defenses like die or fences, and question the HOA's every move. It's not just Karen unraveling. The whole rigged system's exposed and the community's fed up. Take a real example. In Florida, a woman named Claire uncovered her HOA skimming dues for personal projects. Neighbor Greg got a new deck approved, while others faced fines for minor violations. Claire dug through meeting minutes, found the discrepancies, and posted them on a local forum. Neighbors rallied, ousting the board. Like the narrator, Claire's evidence turned frustration into action, toppling the insider's game. Here, the narrator's persistence pays off. HOA can't ignore the viral backlash. Corin's no longer untouchable, and the board's scrambling. Neighbors share their own stories. Unfair fines, ignored complaints, favoritism. The pool fight becomes a spark, igniting a broader reckoning. The lesson: corruption thrives in the dark. Shine a light and it crumbles. The narrator didn't just protect their pool, they cracked open a rotten system. Exposing Karen's HOA shield wasn't revenge, it was justice, proving that when you arm truth with proof, even the powerful can't hide. Karen's empire collapses fast after the ice stunt and viral video. The narrator's lawyer shuts down an HOA fine attempt with a stern warning, forcing a retreat. Then Karen tries a desperate move, calling the cops, claiming the icy pool endangers kids. 2 officers show up, but the narrator's ready. It's my pool, my property, she's trespassing. They inspect the ice, shrug, no laws broken, and leave, even writing a report at the narrator's request. Karen watches from across the street, fuming, her last card played and folded. The HOA, spooked by public scrutiny, emails a formal notice. Karen's stripped of influence, her complaints now personal disputes. She's powerless, exposed as a fraud. The neighborhood shifts. Parents who trusted her swim class lies pull away. Neighbors who feared her HOA clout now mock her. Margaret gossips. She's ranting to anyone who'll listen, but no one's buying it. The videos reach thousands of views, cements her humiliation. Comments pile up, entitled "Karen got iced." And HOAS next. The narrators, not just victorious, they've flipped the script. Karen's the outcast now. She tries a final porch standoff, bitter and tired. You ruined everything. The narrator quips, "You mean you're a legal business?" I'm thrilled. She storms off, defeated, soon listing her house for sale. Consider a parallel from Oregon. A guy, Paul, faced a neighbor, Linda, who'd bullied residents into letting her park RVs on their lots, claiming HOA rules. Paul caught her on camera, posted it, and the HOA, flooded with complaints, cut her off. Linda moved out within weeks, her reign ended by exposure. Like Karen, her downfall came when the mask slipped, and no one backed her play. Karen's exit is the narrator's triumph. The HOA's retreat and her move signal total defeats. She's got no allies, no leverage. The police report and viral proof bury her credibility. She's a cautionary tale now. The lesson: arrogance overreaches. Push too hard, and you'll fall alone. Karen thought connections made her invincible, but when the narrator turned her own game against her publicly, undeniably she had nowhere to run. Entitlement's loud, but consequences are louder. Asterisk with Karen gone. Peace settles over the narrator's backyard like a long-lost friend. No more splashing invaders, no shrill whistles, just the pool shimmering under the sunset. Finally, there's alone. The HOA's quiet, licking its wounds after the backlash, and neighbors celebrate Karen's moving trucks rolling out. An impromptu gathering erupts, Folks swapping Karen horror stories over drinks, laughing at her antics. Someone jests, "Fill it with ice again." The narrator grins. "Nah, but I've got the receipt." It's not just relief, it's victory, hard won and savored. Margaret confirms it. She couldn't stand losing control. The house sale says that Alcaran's run out of moves. The narrator's home is theirs again, no longer a battleground. Cameras stay up, but they're unused. The no trespassing signs stand unchallenged. That night, sipping a drink by the pool, the narrator reflects. This wasn't just about Karen. Exposing her and the HOA earned respect. Neighbors nod in passing, some thanking them for cracking the corruption. A new dynamic. The guy who fought back and won. The pool's not just water, it's a symbol of reclaimed ground.